Hello and welcome to the New Rochelle Bar Association Oral History Project. My name is Ronald Zezima and I am the immediate past president of the New Rochelle Bar. And I welcome Julie Kattan, a past president, to be interviewed for this program. The date is August 27, 2021, and we are both participating in the recording of this archive. I have agreed to and signed the interviewer's release form dated August 27, 2021, and Julie Kattan has also agreed to and signed the interviewee release form. With these formalities completed, let's begin the interview. Good morning, Ms. Kattan.
Good morning, Ron. Nice to be here.
Thank you for being here. Give us a little bit of background information, personal information. Where do you come from?
Okay. I lived almost my entire life in New Rochelle. I went all through the New Rochelle public schools, and I raised my family as well in New Rochelle, and they graduated from New Rochelle High School. I then went to SUNY Albany and got married and had my family, and I went back to law school at age 35. So it was very, very interesting to go to law school with small children. I went to Pace, and I graduated Pace in 1998, and I was admitted in 1999, and I almost immediately joined the New Rochelle Bar Association for a few reasons. At first I thought, okay, it's networking and I'll meet people, but little did I realize that when I went to Delmonico's, that I already knew a lot of people, having lived in New Rochelle my whole life. So it was very welcoming, and the people are so nice. The members of the New Rochelle Bar, we have a past president who likes to say it's the best bar association. I coined the phrase the nicest bar association, because really the people are open, welcoming, helpful, civil and courteous to each other, and that goes a very long way, especially these days.
Okay. Tell us about your first job out of law school.
Okay, so my first job, I won't even tell you who I worked for, because I call my first job out of law school how not to practice law, because that attorney went to jail for 2 years. So, so I call it how not to practice law. Yes. But anyway, that started me off on a lot of different routes.
Yes.
But I would say what really helped me the most in terms of career or jobs or connections was the Westchester Women's Bar Association, because that's where I met a lot of people. And that's who I worked for some of those people, or I rented space from them or whatever, in the beginning of my career. Later, I actually sublet in 271 North Avenue, where everyone gets their start, and I met a whole different group of people, and it's been a wonderful experience, and everyone is always helpful, and it's pleasant and refreshing to come to work.
So tell us a little more. You've piqued our curiosity. Tell us a little more about what you learned not to do during the first 2 years of your practice.
Don't steal from your clients. Oh, you'd think that would be like a no-brainer, but somehow, that's what happened.
And what sort of practice was it?
It varied is the only way I could say it. They did a lot of securities arbitration. They did a lot of civil litigation, commercial litigation, some real estate. Mostly that was the type of practice. I did learn a lot. I learned a lot about the court system. I learned a lot about I graduated law school, and I recognized that I had an education, I passed the bar, I had some knowledge, but that I didn't know how to do everything involved with the courts and so I paid close attention to that. I paid close attention to the associates in my office who would come back and say, my papers got bounced. And then they would proceed to tell you this whole story. And basically, my takeaway from that was they were nasty to the clerks. And that's why their papers got bounced. And at the very beginning, I would say, I'm brand new. I mean, I looked a little older because I went back. I wasn't 25. But I said, I'm brand new. I'm hoping this is right. Please help me. And they were always very helpful. And sometimes all they said was, put an or here instead of an and, or something, you know, something very simple, and they would take them. But if you're not nice to the people, they will bounce them. And I learned a lot of things like that early on.
So which courts were you practicing in at that point?
At
New
that
Rochelle
time,
City?
Manhattan, not
Okay.
New Rochelle. I'm not really in city court too much. The one thing I do want to say about the New Rochelle City Court, and actually it's about the people that practice there more so than the judges, because the judges were always seemed fair to me and always seemed, you know, very, very good. But there were times that I went to New Rochelle City Court, say for like somebody's traffic, their friends, like, you know, issue or violation, whatever. And when other bar members saw me there, they, first of all, everybody's hello, how are you doing, whatever. But there were lawyers that practiced in city court on a regular basis that came over to me and said, do you need help? Can I help you with something? Can you know, and that is amazing. That is amazing, so that you can go to a court that you maybe don't frequent, and you know somebody's got you back there, or somebody will help you, or say, what's the process for this, or what's the procedure. And that was tremendous, tremendous.
And what was the difference between walking into New Rochelle City Court, where you knew everyone, and walking into, say, Supreme Court of Manhattan, where you knew no one?
Well, okay. There are two things on that. First of all, the matters in New Rochelle City Court that I was involved with were not at the level of the cases that I had in Manhattan. I mean, there were some big cases that we had in Manhattan. I mean, I had to take like a suitcase full of files. So that was a very different feeling for me personally as a lawyer, but it was so, you know, friendly in New Rochelle City Court in Manhattan. I really didn't know anybody, and it was a little bit more intimidating.
And now tell us about your involvement in the New Rochelle Bar. When you joined, how you progressed, who you met.
Okay, so my New Rochelle Bar is like a second family to me. As I said, I was admitted in 1999, and I right away, maybe within a few months or whatever, joined the New Rochelle Bar Association. They were then meeting at Delmonico's, and Milton Krupple was giving out pens. I was like, what? They were like, New Rochelle Bar pens. And people really wanted them. I wasn't really sure. They're like, I didn't get a pen. I didn't understand that at the time. But that's how it was. And Susan Kettner was ending her presidency. And very shortly thereafter, I was recruited to be on the board. And I was on the board, maybe around 2000, 2001, until probably about 2012, 2013, something like that. So, and I held, I think, every position. One of the things that I am very proud of is I was very instrumental in improving the CLE program. And I worked on that, and then turned it over to Richard and to Milton, and but it was in a good space. It was organized well, and we had a good process. And it's changed, as everything changes over time and adapts to the circumstances of the day. But I was instrumental in working that along.
And what year did you become president, and what were your immediate goals?
Okay, so I became president in 2009, and my immediate goal was to maintain and increase membership, because we had some, what I would like to say, growing pains is what I call them, because we went from 40 people when I first joined to 350 in a short period of time, and that was. There were logistics involved in that too. For example, meeting places. You couldn't just meet in someone's office or in a restaurant, because if you had 300 people, which we did at many, many events, you couldn't just have that anywhere. Communication. You couldn't send 5 letters. Actually, the year I guess when I was what they call president-elect now, we worked on a website. We worked on emails. We worked on streamlining things. We now do the CLE. We don't have to print it. We can send it digitally. That saved us a tremendous amount of money. So there are logistics that I was very conscious of. I had 2 goals: membership not to go down under my watch, and not to have our finances go down. I called in every favor for a sponsor for any event, and I felt good that when I left, the membership was at a good level. There was a good camaraderie between the members, and we were in good financial position.
So you basically shepherded the organization into the 21st century with the new technology, emails, things like that.
That was for me, being the least tech person on the planet. That was a challenge, but I did have help. And that is the thing about the Bar Association. No one will leave you sinking. There will always be someone who will help you. And to me, that was really, really important.
And looking forward into our next 100 years, what advice would you like to give the future leaders of this organization?
Be kind to each other, because that goes a long way. And what I think probably is the most important thing, which I see across the board in the different organizations, but communicate with each other. Communication is very, very important. And if you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you can't, because we all have lives and we all have busy practices and families, tell somebody you can't. Say, can you cover me for this? I will cover you next time. I think that goes a long way.
And in terms of what you plan for yourself for the future, tell us about your practice now and what you see yourself doing for the next few years.
Okay, well, I'll go back a little bit. I'll give you the highs and lows of the New Rochelle Bar and how that plays into it. The low for me in the New Rochelle Bar was the annual picnic during my presidency, where the monsoon came and took us over, and it was a beautiful, sunny, beautiful day until about 5:15. 5 o'clock, we're all in the gazebo at 5 Islands, and 5:15, the skies opened up. We had awards for members leaving the board. Milton was leaving the board that time. We had awards for Judge Scher and for Judge Edlitz. And that was like, here's your award, bye. Here's your award, bye. Yeah, because it rings. Okay. So that was unbelievable. I went home and cried. So that was the low. But you know what? If that was the worst of it, okay. I'm also very proud of the Court of Appeals dinners that we had, thanks to you and Richard helping us get them. But when we had the Chief Judge, Jonathan Lippman, that was sold out event. And that was really great. We had the mayor come, give him the key to the city. That was really, really a great event. The other thing I will say to anyone up and coming, it's a lot of work. It's time consuming. And so what I like to say, it's the most time consuming, thankless job. However, it gives you a good feeling. It gives you yourself a good feeling, and people should realize. We would go and physically set up tables and chairs, and then people would come and say, wow, this is great. And I would say, yeah, the Gremlins came and did it. So, just be aware that these things take work, but they're worth it. The other thing I would like to say is I met my husband at the New Rochelle Bar Association. So,
and who is your husband?
Milton Kreppel. Yes, that was, so I guess Milton and I probably knew each other 20 years before we got married or so, but or at least 15. So it was kind of funny because we were already friends. And that's really the kind of thing. So what am I doing in the future? So, well, Milton and I have 5 children between us, and we have 5 grandchildren between us. So that's the highlight of my day. I have a trust in estates and real estate practice, and I'm balancing those two. So the grandparent and the attorney roles, 2 of my favorite roles.
And is this harder, or was it harder to be a mother going to law school with 2 children?
It was harder, I think, to be a mother going to school with children. Yeah, I had to. I dropped my children at school, went to law school till about 3:00, raced over to pick them up from school, and if I had a class, I had to make arrangements and all of that. And I will tell you one experience I had at law school with my children. They were off from school, but I wasn't. And I had a class, and I brought them to school. And right outside the lecture center, I could see from the window in the door, there was a little lounge area. And I put them there with books and activities and so forth. And so I was watching them. And then the fire alarm went off. And I jumped up, ran out and with my kids and got out of there. And nobody was leaving. Nobody else in my class left. They were all sitting there. Eventually they made them leave. And they were making fun of me. They were like, Julie ran out. I said, I have 2 children here. I'm not waiting to see if it's a false alarm. I got my kids out. You all had to come out anyway. See? But so that's always my priority. Safety and the comfort and the good health of my family. Always first. But I do love practicing law. And I do love what that has brought me. A different way of thinking, new friends, different experiences that I wouldn't have otherwise had.
Good. Is there anything else you would like to say to the people who are going to be watching this oral history in the future?
Make a difference. So that when we do this again in 40 years, you'll have something to say, I'm proud of this.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kattan.
Thank you for having me.